Give it back. You've already taken enough money from this family." My sister's voice cut through the dinner table like a blade. The whole room went silent. Forks stopped moving. Glasses stayed on the table. Every single face turned toward me. My dad stood up slowly, pointed at the door, and said 2 words: "Get out." I left that night with nothing but the clothes I was wearing, and for 5 years, I heard nothing from them. Then a doctor called my name in an emergency room, and everything changed. My name is Emily Dawson. I'm 35 years old. I work as a patient intake coordinator at a busy hospital. The job is stressful. People come to us on the worst days of their lives, scared and in pain, and I help them get through the door. I'm good at it. I've always been good at showing up for people, even when no one showed up for me. Growing up, I was the dependable one. I worked part-time jobs through high school, helped my parents cover small bills, never asked for much. My younger sister was different. She got second chances I never received. When she made mistakes, they were explained away. When I made mistakes, they were remembered. I didn't grow up bitter about it. I just grew up quiet. I kept my head down and believed that honesty would eventually be enough. I was wrong about that. The night everything fell apart started like any normal family dinner. The smell of my mom's cooking filled the house, warm and familiar, the kind of smell that makes you feel like a kid again. But underneath it, something felt tense. My sister kept looking at me across the table with an expression I couldn't read. Then she said it. $8,000 is gone. The money we saved for Mom and Dad's medical bills, and you're the only one who ever needed extra money. I put down my fork. I didn't take anything. Check the accounts again. "Don't lie to us," she said. Her voice cracked, her eyes filled with tears. "I trusted you. How could you do this to all of us?" My parents didn't ask questions. My dad slammed his hand on the table. "We're done defending you. Return the money or leave this house." I begged them. I asked them to pull up the bank records right then and there. They refused. My mom looked at me with an expression I had never seen from her before, something between disappointment and disgust. "Until you fix this," she said, "you are not my daughter." I walked out into the cold night air, and just before I turned the corner, I glanced back. My sister was standing at the window. She wasn't crying anymore. There was a small smile on her face that disappeared the moment she realized I was looking. That smile stayed with me for years. Within days, I was removed from every family group chat, blocked on every platform. My mom sent one final message before cutting contact completely. It said, "We need peace, not drama." That was it. No conversation, no investigation, just silence. Then came the public humiliation. At a grocery store a few weeks later, my aunt spotted me from across the aisle and whispered to her friend, without bothering to lower her voice, "That's the one who stole from her parents." I kept walking. I didn't stop. I didn't cry until I got to my car. My sister wasn't done. Word spread through the family that I had always been jealous of her, that I had resented her success for years. She couldn't stand that I was doing better, she told relatives. People who had known me my whole life stopped returning my calls. I thought about confronting them many times, but I knew no one would listen, so I did something harder. I kept going. I paid my own rent. I built my own routine. I woke up every morning and went to work, and I let the pain sit quietly in the back of my chest where it didn't have to be shown to anyone. But I never stopped looking for the truth. Something about that night never felt right. The accusation came too fast. My sister had known the exact amount, the exact timing. Months after I left, I remembered that our family had once shared a cloud backup system for photos and documents. I still had access. I logged in one afternoon with low expectations. What I found stopped my breath. There were bank notification screenshots, time-stamped and saved, a deleted transaction trail that led directly to my sister's account, and then, buried in an old folder she'd clearly forgot existed, voice notes. Her voice, relaxed, almost proud, talking to someone about how she had moved the money and what she planned to do if anyone looked too closely. I didn't call anyone. I didn't confront her. I saved every file to 3 separate locations, and I waited, because Linda had told me to wait. Linda was my supervisor at the hospital. She was calm, the way deep water is calm, steady on the surface, but with a lot beneath it. She had noticed early on that I carried something heavy. One afternoon, she sat across from me in the break room, folded her hands, and said, "You don't have to do it alone, you know." I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. "Don't rush this," she said when I finished. "Let the truth come out when it matters most. That's when it actually lands." She also helped me understand how to organize evidence properly, what made documentation legally credible, what to keep and what to label. I followed her advice. I was patient. I waited for years. Then the call came. I was at my desk on a Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. A doctor's voice came through the line, calm and professional. My sister had been admitted to the emergency room, a serious condition. They had run compatibility tests for a potential donor match. I was the only one who matched. When I walked into that waiting room, my parents looked older. My mom's hands were shaking. My dad had his head down. They both looked up when they saw me, and for a moment, nobody spoke. My mom stood. "Please," she said, "help her, please." I looked at her for a long moment. "Before anything else happens," I said, "we need to talk." Linda arrived 20 minutes later with a folder of printed documents. She walked in quietly, placed it on the table in front of my parents, and said, "I believe this belongs here." I opened the folder. I pressed play on the voice recording. My sister's voice filled the small waiting room, relaxed, casual, explaining exactly what she had done with the $8,000 and exactly why she had pointed at me. The room went completely still. My dad stumbled back against the wall. My mom covered her mouth with both hands. The silence was heavy, the kind that has weight, the kind that presses down on your chest. My sister was in a bed down the hall, conscious, aware that we were out here, unable to say a word. "You ended my life over a lie," I said. My voice was steady. I wasn't angry anymore. I had moved past anger a long time ago. I agreed to help medically, not because they deserved it from me, but because it was the right thing to do, regardless. When my mom reached for my hand and tried to apologize, I stepped back gently. "I hear you," I said, "but an apology right now isn't something I'm ready for." My parents stood there with guilt written across their faces, the kind that doesn't wash off easily. And my sister, when she eventually recovered, faced something harder than any argument or confrontation. She had to face the looks on their faces every single day. I walked out of that hospital with my head up. They had erased me once. They had taken my name, my place at the table, my identity inside that family. But in the years that followed, I had rebuilt every single piece of myself without their help. I had found steady ground, real friendship, and a version of myself that didn't need their approval to feel whole. That's something no one will ever be able to take away from me again. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do by the people who were supposed to protect you? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want to be part of a community that actually understands. And if this story reached you, click hype and help it find someone else who needs to hear it today. Your support means more than you know.